Is America about to lose 10 cities in 2025? Home prices no longer meant for humans. Clean water becomes a luxury. Urban order collapses from within. This is no longer a crisis. It's the systematic breakdown of an empire that once promised dreams for all. The American dream shattered on the streets of Los Angeles. I teach during the day, deliver food at night, and sleep in my car every single evening. So, is this still the American dream? Janet Wells, 29, elementary school teacher. Once a beacon of glamour and hope, Los Angeles, the city of angels, now looks more like a crumbling stage than a movie set. The dazzling lights of Hollywood can't pierce through the deep darkness blanketing streets where over 75,000 people have no home to return to. According to data from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LAHSA, that number rose by over 10% in 2023 alone, an unprecedented crisis rate. Tents, sleeping bags, and beat-up cars have become the temporary homes of thousands with steady jobs, including teachers, nurses, and delivery drivers. 1 in 4 homeless people in LA are employed full-time, says a 2024 UCLA report. But having a job no longer guarantees stability. Average rent has soared past $5,900 per month, while working-class wages have risen only 24% over the past 5 years. That's an equation no one can solve, unless they're in the top 10% of earners. The wildfires earlier this year were just the final blow. The real burning isn't in the forests, it's in the abandoned housing system, where support programs have been slashed and the real estate market floats freely on profit. Thousands of luxury units sit vacant while tents mushroom across Venice Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard. Skid Row, once a tiny crack, is now a mirror reflecting the entire city. With one of the highest homeless densities in the U.S., it has become a gray zone of society. Here, people no longer wait for miracles, just a safe night. Police are exhausted, aid workers are burned out. And the government? They keep launching cleanup campaigns, scrubbing the image but not the root cause. Just blocks away, Hollywood still scripts tales of hope and humanity. But the real people, living, struggling, have been cut out of the frame. They don't fit the spotlight. They don't sell tickets. They are the leftovers of a city whose shine has gone blind. Los Angeles isn't just burning from the weather, but from policies that have scorched public trust in government, in community, and in the promise that if you work hard, you'll never be left behind. The American dream isn't dead. It's just wandering, looking for shelter, in a city that once vowed to protect it. What do you think caused a city once symbolic of the American dream to fall this far? Who should be held responsible? The government, the housing market, or a society that looked away? Share your thoughts below because silence is also part of the problem. San Francisco, tech evolves, life regresses. Once a global symbol of innovation, home to Uber, Twitter, Airbnb, and other apps that shaped the 21st century, San Francisco is now a city of 2 stacked worlds that never truly meet. Above, glass towers slice into the clouds, lit through the night as teams of engineers race global deadlines. Beneath them lie torn tarps, moldy mattresses, and people slumped beside gutters. Between the generator hum of a Whole Foods and the rolling wheels of a police patrol. In 2025, San Francisco's median home price topped $1.3 million, and the average one-bedroom rent reached $3,700 per month, according to the latest report from Zillow and the U.S. Housing Authority. Meanwhile, starting teachers earn about $56,000 per year, and even junior software engineers have to share housing or move far outside the Bay Area. I code for a billion-dollar company, but I can't afford an apartment. Tech moves forward, but people fall behind. Jake Nguyen, 33, Vietnamese-American software engineer, lives in a minivan parked near Daly City. Jake is not an outlier. Over 7,000 people are currently homeless in San Francisco, and nearly 40% of them were employed within the past 12 months. the city holds California's highest rate of unsheltered homelessness. The very people who built this city, construction workers, nurses, cooks, rideshare drivers, are now retreating in silence, pushed out by a system that values humans based on code, stock shares, and Series B funding rounds. Across Mission District and Soma, handwritten signs pop up everywhere. Please don't break my car window. There's nothing to steal. A quiet plea, part defense, part confession, from a society that's lost its way. San Francisco doesn't lack money. It ranks third in billionaire density worldwide, just after New York and Hong Kong. It doesn't lack ideas. Brilliant minds here are coding the future of humanity. But what San Francisco lacks is the most basic ingredient for community: political will to keep people, not just assets. In a world defined by code, who is rewriting the definition of living? And if even those who built the digital age can't find a place to sleep, is this city truly thriving or quietly collapsing? 2025. New York is too expensive to live in. New York was once the place where you could start from nothing and rise to the top of the world. A city of fresh beginnings, bold ambitions, and the famous mantra, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. But by 2025, that very dream is being priced so high that many are forced to let it go. 10 cities now reflect America's deep systemic crisis, and New York, with all its glittering symbols, is one you simply can't ignore. In just 4 years, over 500,000 residents have left New York. Not because they gave up their dreams, but because they simply couldn't survive a cost of living that defies logic, where just the dream of staying afloat has become a luxury. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan has now surpassed $4,500 per month. I'm not afraid of New York's fast pace, I'm afraid of the rent every month. Lillian S., office worker. And it's not just housing, food, healthcare, and utilities. All rank among the most expensive in the U.S., and according to the 2024 Economist Intelligence Unit report. People aren't really living anymore. They're battling day by day like contestants in a never-ending survival game. The middle class, teachers, artists, nurses, office workers, is disappearing. They're not poor enough to qualify for help, but not rich enough to stay. They've become the forgotten gap in every budget sheet, slipping through the cracks of a fractured society. And beneath the city lights, under bridges and subway tunnels and parks that once rang with laughter, are over 100,000 homeless souls, nameless, addressless, and stripped of the right to dream. Train stations that once symbolized connection have now become labyrinths of violence and neglect, where people exist unseen. New York's lights are still on, still the backdrop for films about success. But behind the spotlight is a city rotting from the ground up, where dreams are no longer fuel but privilege. And if even the city once called the heart of America pushes its workers past the horizon, then the question is no longer, who gets to reach the dream? But rather, who's still allowed to dream? From industrial hub to empty zone, that's Baltimore. Once the beating industrial heart of the Northeast, Baltimore now echoes with decay, crumbling row houses, abandoned factories, and neighborhoods swallowed by weeds. As factories shut down, tens of thousands of jobs disappeared, dragging entire communities into a cycle of poverty. The city sank into silence, not peace, but a warning gone unheard. The murder rate is 4 times the national average. Entire blocks have turned into no-go zones. I don't hear birds anymore, only gunshots. Malik, resident of West Baltimore. More terrifying is the quiet collapse of education. Over 80% of 8th graders can't read fluently. A generation grows up with no skills, no hope, and a city with no future. Baltimore isn't broke, but it lacks jobs, order, education. And when those 3 pillars fall, all that remains is an urban shell without a soul. Chicago 2025, no trust left to live. Since 2020, over 81,000 people have left Chicago. Not because opportunity ran out, but because trust did. A city not just losing population, but losing itself. Major corporations like Boeing, Tyson Foods, and Caterpillar quietly moved away, taking with them not only jobs, but the economic ecosystems that once fed millions. Meanwhile, property taxes soar and living costs climb endlessly, leaving the middle class gasping between staying and fleeing. I'm not here because I want to be. I'm here because I have nowhere else to go. Rosa, 64-year-old widow, Southside crime is no longer the exception. It's the default rhythm in many neighborhoods after sundown. Violence, theft, disinvestment, and shattered trust. Chicago is fading into America's gray zones, in silence, without explosions, without resistance. The issue isn't just like poverty or guns, it's the simultaneous collapse of safety, economy, and faith. A city cannot survive if those who remain are the ones who cannot leave. Portland, when freedom can't save a city anymore. Once praised as a paradise of creativity and freedom, Portland now wears the face of exhaustion, chaos, and helplessness. Parks and bus stops, once icons of urban civility, are now packed with tents, plastic bags, and hollow eyes. No longer public spaces, but living proof of failed housing policies. Property crime is soaring. Small shops, the soul of Portland, are closing en masse because no one protects them anymore. I love this city's ideals, but ideals can't stop my store from being smashed. Bookstore owner, Alberta District Law Enforcement has stepped back. Residents live with the feeling of abandonment. High taxes, few jobs, rising costs, and the younger generation, once seeking a different way of life in Portland, are now leaving, taking with them energy and potential for renewal. Portland isn't lacking ideals, but ideals can't survive without a foundation of reality. A city may dream, but without basic safety and welfare, those very dreams become the reason for collapse. Detroit, city of abandoned factories. Once the mechanical heart of America, where the labor dream was assembled with engines, sweat, and belief, Detroit in 2025 is now the largest scar of a forgotten industry. Since 1950, the city has lost over 1.2 million people, nearly 60% of its population. Abandoned houses outnumber occupied ones. Streetlights don't shine. Wind howls through shattered glass like it's blowing through the hollow soul of a generation that once believed in the system. Detroit is the clear consequence of unchecked globalization, stagnant policy, and federal neglect. When industry left, there was no plan B. When residents fled, no one brought them back. Only a hollowed-out city remained. Crime remains among the nation's highest. Ambulances arrive late not because of distance, but because no one's on duty. Roads cracked, trash overflowing, and residents grow used to it as if there's nothing else to do. Though the downtown is being flooded with investment, with lit-up restaurants and new squares, it's just a coat of paint over a broken structure. Without jobs, without trust, without voice, there is no true revival. Detroit isn't just a failed city. It is a living warning of the cost of forgetting those who once kept America running. Does America have the courage to repair what it once abandoned? Jackson, where clean water becomes a privilege. As the capital of Mississippi, Jackson should be a place where everything runs smoothly. But by 2025, this city has become a symbol of an America cracking from the inside. In 2022, Jackson's clean water system completely collapsed, leaving over 150,000 people without water to drink, bathe, or flush. Not for hours, but for weeks, even months. We don't need electric cars or new tech. We just need clean water to bathe. Tamara, mother of three. Jackson doesn't lack water. It lacks political will. Maintenance was ignored, budgets were slashed. Responsibility passed around like a meaningless game. While major cities discuss green tech, Jackson is fighting for a basic right: clean water. At the same time, infrastructure crumbles, schools deteriorate, hospitals are understaffed, and violent crime is 3 times the national average. People aren't dying from stray bullets, but slowly from dry faucets. Jackson wasn't destroyed by war. It's the victim of deliberate delay, historical injustice, and a system that chose to forget it. How can a city in America not have clean water? Technical failure? Discrimination? Or just intentional neglect? 2025, a city in nature with no one left. Tucked between snowy peaks and icy seas, Anchorage was once praised as a place where people and nature coexisted. But by 2025, the city is growing empty. Not from war, but from quiet departures. Food prices are over 30% higher. Winters last half the year, and temperatures drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Light is brief. Hope runs thin. Rates of seasonal depression have reached crisis levels, while the healthcare system is nearly absent. Anchorage's people aren't brought down by violence, but by isolation, cold and quiet neglect, worn down day by day. The city didn't explode. It faded, like a painting no one wants to finish. Anchorage is breathtaking to visit, but not gentle enough to live in. Not every city fails because of violence. Some fail simply because no one dreams of staying. New Orleans when music can't drown out the gunfire. Once the artistic heart of the South, where jazz played on porches, gumbo scented the air, and every corner felt like a festival, New Orleans in 2025 is drifting inside its own fading glory. This city didn't collapse from a hurricane, but is slowly sinking under undrained rainwater, buckled roads, burst pipes, and decades of policy neglect. One moderate rain turns streets into rivers, flooding homes from the inside out. This isn't climate change. It's infrastructure deformation. Worse, New Orleans ranked among the top 5 most dangerous U.S. cities in 2024. I still love this city, but love doesn't fix my car every time it floods. Elena, nurse who left in 2024. People aren't leaving from lack of love. They're leaving because love can't withstand bullets, floods, and broken trust. When Mardi Gras drums can't drown out gunfire, can New Orleans still be itself, or just a hollow cultural shell of a city too tired to fight? Rebuilding urban America. Begin with the forgotten cities. From the lights going out in Los Angeles, to the decayed roofs in Detroit, to gunshots drowning out music in New Orleans, each city is a crack in the map of a fractured America. The reasons vary, but the outcome is the same. Trust is gone. Trust that housing is a right, not a commodity. That clean water, light, and safety shouldn't be privileges for the wealthy. That schools can lift people up, not trap them below forever. So when the urban foundations are collapsing, what must we do? 1. Public investment isn't a burden, it's society's insurance. 2. Housing is a right, not a negotiation. 3. Real security begins with a community that has hope. 4. Trust must be built through transparency and people's voices. 5. And development isn't about more buildings, it's about more support. Rebuilding isn't just laying concrete or installing light poles, it's rebuilding a reason for people to want to stay. Because if a city can't hold on to its people, can it still be called a city? Because a dream cannot belong only to the few. And a city cannot be called great if those who keep it running have nowhere to sleep. Los Angeles doesn't need another film about hope. This city needs policy that allows hope to survive. This video is for educational and informational purposes, based on publicly available sources. It does not promote any political stance or specific policy. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter on the hidden crises reshaping America. Join us because, understanding is the first step toward change.